Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, I post true crime content like this all the time, so if that's something you're interested in, hit that subscribe button, give it a like, and put your post notifications on so you know when I upload a brand new video. So today we're going to be covering the case of Jessica Keane. I'm going to give you some content warnings. There's two, sexual assault and rape, so if that's something you can't watch, click out now and I'll see you in my next video. But let's get on with this case. Jessica Lynn Keane was a 15-year-old girl who was born on September 24th, 1975 in Columbus, Ohio. Jessica was a very smart young girl. She did well in school and she was on the cheerleading team. She had a great work ethic. She would spend lots of her time studying and she was determined to do well and get high grades. When Jessica was 15 years old, all went downhill when she started dating a boy who was 18 named Sean Thompson. Sean had a bit of a bad reputation. He was a bit of a bad boy. And when he and Jessica started dating, this behaviour started to rub off onto Jessica and change her whole attitude. Jessica began skipping school to go and meet Sean, and this affected her grades. As I said before, she had good grades, but she used to spend a lot of time studying, but now that she was skipping school and that, to see Sean, her grades were slowly going downhill. Jessica also was on the cheerleading team, and after her and Sean started dating, she actually quit the team. Because of this negative effect Sean was having on Jessica, her mother Rebecca heavily disapproved of this relationship. Another theory in this case, or like another topic that's brought up, is race, because it was back in the old times, and racism's still obviously a problem, but it's mentioned in this case that her parents could have disapproved of him because of race, which obviously there's a negative effect going on onto Jessica, but also race might have been a contributing factor, but I can't confirm that. That's just what I read in my research. Rebecca really saw that Sean was quite a bad influence on her daughter Jessica, so Rebecca actually put a rule in place to help Jessica. She told Jessica that she was no longer allowed to see her boyfriend Sean. But like all teenagers, Jessica didn't listen to her mother and continued to see Sean behind her back. She would sneak out of the house in the middle of the night to go and see him, and she was also continuing to skip school. Obviously, Rebecca found that Jessica was still seeing Sean, and she was understandably very frustrated and upset. At this point, she didn't know what to do. She had tried to help her daughter, but she was continuing to see her boyfriend, who clearly had such a bad influence on her. So she wasn't really sure what to do because, well, she'd already tried and it hadn't worked. The relationship between Rebecca and Jessica began to break down, and they were always fighting and arguing. It was decided mutually that Jessica would be sent to Huckleberry House, which was a group home for troubled teenagers. As I said, they were always fighting and arguing, so they both needed some time apart to be able to calm down and then Jessica come back and then they could have a fresh start. So Jessica moved into Huckleberry House on the 4th of March 1991. As she was in this home, Jessica actually started to make a positive change. She started to thrive. She started doing her schoolwork again. She was making new friends, and her and her mother were getting on. So the discussion of Jessica coming home was brought up. However, on the 15th of March 1991, Jessica was at the home and she was on the phone with her boyfriend Sean Thompson. This phone call ended up turning into an argument, and then the couple ended up breaking up. Jessica was very angry, so to calm down, Jessica decided to go to the mall for the day. She told one of her friends who lived at the home that she was off to the mall and that she was just going to take her mind off the breakup. She left Huckleberry House and set off to the mall. She was seen at the bus stop at 6 p.m. that evening. However, at 11 p.m, the staff at Huckleberry House were doing their routine checks, just checking that all the residents were at the home and were all accounted for. And it was found that 15-year-old Jessica Keane still had not returned from the mall. Staff searched the whole of Huckleberry House, but she wasn't there. They waited for a short while, thinking that maybe she was just running a bit late coming back from the mall. They waited about an hour and a half and she still hadn't returned, so they contacted Jessica's mother, Rebecca. Rebecca was obviously very concerned and worried. She contacted police and reported her daughter as missing. Police first thought that Jessica had run away and that she'd had an argument with her boyfriend and she'd just run away for a bit to clear her head. Rebecca explained to the police that even though she had her troubles, it was so out of character for her to just up and run away without telling anybody. She also didn't take any of her personal belongings, which, to run away you would need to take things with you. You'd need clothes, some money, you'd take your phone, you'd need food. So if she just ran away without taking anything, she won't last very long. Police determined that Jessica was last seen at 6 p.m. at the bus stop. So either she had gotten on that bus and that something had happened to her, after she got off the bus, or that she never even got on the bus and that something had happened to her while she was waiting at the bus stop. However, the search for Jessica Keane didn't last that long because 2 days later, on the 17th of March 1991, her body was found. Her body was found in Foster Chapel Cemetery in West Jefferson, Ohio, which was around 20 miles from the bus stop which she was last seen. Jessica's body was found naked except for one sock and her bra, which had been tangled. Police found that she had been raped and her cause of death had been found to be blunt force trauma from where the killer had ripped a 70-pound gravestone out of the ground and beat her over the head. The gravestone was found near Jessica's body and was actually cracked in two from where the killer had beat her so hard that it had split in half. During Jessica's autopsy, it was found that she was completely clean from any drugs or alcohol and that she had been raped multiple times. The other sock was found in the graveyard, as well as an imprint from where Jessica's knee had sunk into the ground when she was hiding behind a gravestone. This kind of indicated that she had been running away from her attacker and she had hidden behind a gravestone. She was wearing all her jewellery, however a necklace which her ex-boyfriend Sean had given her had been taken. This necklace was a gold necklace which had the word "taken" engraved into it. Based on a search of the crime scene and injuries Jessica had sustained, it was theorised by the police that Jessica had been forced into a car, raped repeatedly, and then beaten for around 6 hours. Then, at some point in the night, on the 16th of March 1991, Jessica was able to escape the car and began running towards the cemetery. It's believed that a light was left on in a nearby farmhouse, so it's theorised that she was running towards that to get help. As it was the middle of the night, Jessica would have been unable to see where she was going and slammed into a fence post. This would have given her killer time to catch up to her, as this probably would have injured her. First suspect in this case, for obvious reason, was her ex-boyfriend, Sean Thompson. The night of the murder, the couple had an argument over the phone, resulting in a breakup. This gave him a motive. This is a very common thing to happen in murder investigations. However, it was confirmed that Sean wasn't even in the state, and he was on his way to Florida with a group of friends, so he wasn't even in the state of Ohio at the time of the murder. Police still decided to take a DNA sample to test against the DNA found on Jessica's body. However, obviously it wasn't a match, so Sean Thompson was not Jessica Keene's killer. At the fence post which Jessica had slammed into during her attack, her family placed a cross with her name on to kind of keep her memory alive. As Sean Thompson was ruled out as a suspect in the murder investigation, the case went cold for the next few years. Police were mainly looking at people who Jessica knew because they believed that she would have felt comfortable enough to get into the car with them unless she was forced into it. The police at this point had no leads and believed that the only way they could catch this killer was if they struck again. The public sent hundreds of tips and leads over the years. However, they all seemed to lead to absolutely nothing. On the 17th of March 2008, 17 years to the day, the police had a breakthrough in this case. Ohio crime labs had found a match to the DNA found on Jessica's body. This DNA was a match to a man named Marvin Lee Smith. Marvin Lee Smith was a 51-year-old man who had previously been convicted and served 19 years in prison for the abduction and rape of 2 other women. At the time of Jessica Keene's murder, he was in the area out on bail. As Marvin was a convicted criminal, legally, he had to submit a DNA sample which could be used in future investigations of similar crimes. And this law that was passed to make DNA samples a requirement for violent criminals actually was made while he was in prison, so he legally did it as he was leaving. So if prisoners were leaving prison after doing a violent crime, their DNA would be taken after they served their prison sentence. However, usually it would be if after the crime was committed before they went to prison. Because of an advancement of technology from 1991 to 2008, it was found that Marvin Lee Smith was a match to the DNA found on Jessica's body. On the 9th of April 2008, Marvin Lee Smith was arrested and charged with the abduction, rape and murder of Jessica Keene. To everyone's shock, Marvin Lee Smith confessed to the murder because he wanted to avoid the death penalty. Marvin's story added up to the crime scene evidence and matched the theorised version of events. Smith had abducted Jessica, then raped and beat her for several hours. Jessica then managed to escape his car, and then he chased her through the graveyard and then beat her to death with the gravestone. He believed that because he had previous convictions for abduction and rape, that if he let Jessica go free, that she would tell the police. and that he would become a suspect. So he decided to kill her to keep her quiet, because being a murderer is better than abducting and being a rapist. In March of 2009, the murder trial began, and Marvin Lee Smith pled guilty to all charges and was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 30 years, which means that he will be eligible for parole in 2039. So that's all I have for this case. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. If you want to subscribe, I will put I'll put a circle with my face on it on the screen. If you want to see more videos, I'll put a playlist of more true crime videos. And comment down below any cases that you want me to see, and I have a case request form down below, and I will see you in my next case. Thanks for watching. Bye.